Hey everyone, this is Ryan Mallory, SharePlanner.com, 6/17/2013. I gotta say, I fell into a little bit of a market lull today with this sideways price action. We had a little bit of a blip to the upside after the initial rise, but since then we had just traded sideways, and I think it lulled a lot of us into like just a false sense of this market's just going to be quiet, it's not going to do anything, and then boom, there you go. A sell off going from 1645 down to 1631, 1630, and we haven't seen a bounce yet. And that's happening all in less than an hour that this sell off has occurred. I'm not seeing a lot of like specific news related to it. Maybe it's jitters ahead of the Fed and their FOMC statement that comes out on Wednesday and the meetings that begin tomorrow. I don't know, but it's definitely a cause for concern. I've got about 7 long positions on right now. Of those 7, 2 of them are trading in the red right now. One of them being Trip that I had just bought this morning. So there hasn't been a lot of time for that one to really even sink in yet. But DSW, one that I'm a little bit concerned with because it's just not breaking out like I wanted it to. Other ones still like RKT. I'll pull up the chart on this one. It's busting out, but then if you throw a Bollinger Band on this thing, there's reason to be concerned that it's given back that much gains outside the upper Bollinger Band. We've seen it happen before where it's done that, and it led to 2 days of additional selling. So that one is definitely on the chop block. I still want to see how it finishes at the end of the day. Another perfect example is here. Back on 228 where it sold off a few days later after having a similar candle. And so I am concerned about RKT holding this one overnight. We've got about 5% in gains on this one. It was 6% earlier today. However, I'm definitely leaning towards going ahead and booking my gains in this stock by the close of today's market session. Also curbing back some exposure in case this market does want to continue to sell off additionally here. I'm waiting for a little bit of a market bounce here. I don't know if we're going to get it. Actually, we are getting somewhat of a bounce here. We hit 1630. We're back up to 16, almost 1634. The 20-day moving average, though, this is the killer in this market right now. And if you look back, it's provided some good support in times past. I mean, to the long side, it was bouncing, 3 times off, or 2 times, almost a third time, to the upside. And then to the downside, once we pushed below, we haven't been able to get back above it since. This is the 3rd time. I mean, we were up above it a little bit, but eventually we just dropped right below it again. So it's the 3rd time that we have failed to push above it. Now, things could change into the close. We could have a rapid bounce back higher. And from some of the action that we have seen from this market in the past, it's not surprising to get a heavy sell-off of about 5-6 points that sends jitters into the bulls and their positions to make them want to, okay, I'm going to book the gains and everything else. And then that 3 o'clock time period rolls around and we just go ape again and push higher and finish at the day's highs. I don't know if we're going to see that today because the sell-off is much more than what you would call a simple, let's try to go stop hunting here. This is a full-fledged run for the exits that we're seeing intraday playing out here. And so that makes me definitely a little queasy in my own long positions, and one that like an RKT, I'm probably going to want to book some gains in that because it is outside the upper Bollinger Bands. And while I don't use Bollinger Bands to place trades, I often will use them for booking gains because it does show you sometimes if the stock is overextended to get out of it and maybe wait for a good time to get back in it again in the future. Perfect example of that is Amazon. All right, Amazon. I sold out of it, towards the highs here when it was trading outside the upper Bollinger Band. It pushed a little higher the next day, but then it sold off, and then I got back in at 273. Okay, so I used that as an opportunity to book gains, and then basically make more gains in the same price range again. So we're up about 1% in that one today. Overall, we're up about 1.3%. So that's 1.3% that I wouldn't have had I not used the Bollinger Bands to book the gains prior and then wait for a re-entry on it again. So, other positions that I'm in, APA doesn't look bad at all. I mean, not really given much of its gains. Had a high of 86.92, just trading about 50 cents off of that, 40 cents off of that. We talked about KSS here. Another position, it has a perfect breakout. If it wasn't for that perfect breakout, that candle alone today would probably force me to sell it, but I wanted to give it more time. I don't think that's a deal breaker there. DSW, talked about it not really breaking out like I would have liked for it to. HUM, solid here. It continues to bounce right off of that rising trend line. So as long as it's doing that and it's not violating anything, I think it's worth holding as long as I can. So my stop right now is at 79.50. Probably tomorrow I'll raise it another percent, maybe up to this 80.33, 80.35 level, and just ensure myself that I'm not going to let this stock go from being a winning trade to a losing trade. And we talked about RKT, so that pretty much rounds out the positions that I'm holding right now. So yeah, very concerned about this market. I want to see us pop higher into the close. The one position that I'm probably going to be tempted to close out of is RKT, which happens to be the biggest winning position in our portfolio right now at 5+%. However, it does look overextended, and I think it could see some additional selling here in the days ahead. So always want to be careful with the gains, that we don't allow us to simply just give them back, but to constantly book them, to consistently profit out of this market. That trading is a game of inches. It's not about huge winners and making lots and lots of money and throwing the Benjamins around like it's no big deal. It's a game of inches. Sometimes you're going to make a few bucks on a trade, and that's good. Okay, that's good. It's a game of inches. And when you're making a few dollars off the trade, that means you're not losing. Okay, and so sometimes it's going to be a few dollars. Sometimes you're just going to lose a few dollars, and that's showing that you're managing risk. But what you don't want to do is constantly allow stocks that are at 4 or 5% to not take those gains seriously, or 3-4% and not take those gains seriously, and then allow for those stocks to give back all those gains, and then you're closing out for a loss, because that's detrimental to your account. You do that enough times, you will not be profitable by the end of the year. I can guarantee that. So don't worry about making these home run trades every time you step up with a new trade, because that's not going to happen. And if you do that, you're going to lose in the long run. I guarantee it. I've never met somebody who was able to pull that off successfully, hitting home runs on all their trades and being able to survive with large losers in the process, because that's what's going to happen. If you're trying to hit the home runs, you have to take bigger risks, and those bigger risks just don't equate to market profitability. So hang in there today. I'm a little skittish about this sell-off here. One position is probably going to be at least closed off. We'll see how the rest of the day plays out, but for now, hang tight, and we'll continue to trade and manage that risk as tight as we possibly can. You all have a great day, and God bless.